preparing the forms for the products that we're making tomorrow. So the absolute number one thing, so we've got a few things on our list to produce, which is important for the training, but we've got an assessment coming up, and the most important part for tomorrow is doing the Madera cake, which is in the assessment. I'm just going to paper those forms here, and we will, that's probably the first cab off the rank for everybody. That's an individual task. And then we've got then a pound cake, which is a traditional, it's the most traditional cake that in our culinary history, in fact. So when I say our culinary history, like you've got to acknowledge that the Anglo-Saxon history of this country is English and Scottish, like baking, right? That's where the first training package was brought into Australia. Of course, we've got French, Italian, all these different cuisines, but pound cake is as it sounds. It says it was a pound of butter, it was a pound of sugar, it was a pound of eggs, and a pound of flour. So we had these really core basic ingredients, mechanically aerated to build a cake. We will do an apple crumble sort of cake base out of that recipe. And then we've got a banana cake, which will be decorated with like same sort of carrot cake topping, like a lemon buttercream fudge icing type product. So this is for papering manually. We're going to manually paper these forms for both the Madera cake, like all the cakes. Okay, so this is the type of form that we're going to be using going forward. Doesn't have a base, so we have to prepare this. And we're going to move also from cake tins to cake rings, right? So there's a preparation's a little bit different. So we'll be using the silicon mats to just give it a little bit more protection. And we've got two different types. We've got the deeper one, which we'll use for the crumble, and then we've got the thinner one, which we'll use for the Madera. So for this, we need foil and silicon paper. So this is fairly standard, this practice, what I'm showing you now. Cake tins don't normally get used in pastry kitchens, right? Remember, we're doing patisserie. Foil. So I guess step number one, we sheet our foil. We cut it in half. Cut the sheet in half. And then with a sheet of silicone paper, which sits in the middle. So we need to make our own, essentially, the bottom of a cake tin. Make sure that fits in place. And that I've got enough foil around the outside. So let's get this in frame so you can see as best you can how to do this. So size up that base, turn it over, see if it's a bit flatter on that side, and it is. You definitely want to make sure that it's as flush to the base as you can. Now I'm going to pick up a corner and I'm going to fold it in. Flush to the side, and then I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to pick it up, fold it in, pick it up, fold it in. And I need to put enough pressure, I'm crimping it in, that it will take a batter without falling off. And now I'm going to do the side. So pick it up, fold it in, pick it up. And I fold it. The reason I fold in is that that's where it crimps in, so it holds it in place. in. And you really have to make sure that you do it tight enough that it will hold its shape when I put a cake batter in there. If you don't do this firm enough, you'll put your cake mixture in, it'll just flow out, right? So you've got to make sure that with this type of method that we're putting enough pressure sides, just turn it around. Now I'm going to do the other side. So fold it over, pinch, fold it over, pinch, fold it over, and then bring it up. Again on the side. And this makes it really easy too when we're finished baking. Demolding, just release the pressure off the foil and lift the ring off, and then you've got a perfectly shaped product for us then to slice and decorate. So that's flat in there. One, the other one over. And when I get to greasing this form, just to keep in mind some of the guys who didn't grease their forms enough, and their sponges stuck to the their actual to the flan. I'm talking about the flan, the cake flan that we made. You know, that fluted side, you know, where there wasn't enough sponge grease. And you really need to go a little bit heavier. In fact, it's quite, I think, a nice after effect on that cake, that it's a little bit crispy. It's a little bit fried. There's the edge of the cake where it's had, you know, the grease has fried that outside layer. So we're going to be using one of these per student. Right, so you've got one on all of the Madera cake. And then I'll show you how we'll use the overflow of that product. So now I've got the two forms. Go on the silicon tray. Right, we're using the silicon mat just to give a little bit more protection on the base. Sure, it fits in the tray. We're using flat trays, right? Space them apart so they get even baking. So now we're using the same product as we used last time, some commercial tin release or release agent, pretty much. And I'm just going to make sure that I'm a little bit heavier than normal on the sides. Put that paper in. Making sure I cover all the sides. So the Madera cake that we're using is a very traditional type of English style cake. We're going to make it into a slice, which is going to be the easiest for us for the assessment, which is next week. And this will be one of the products. I've kept the sponges as I had told you I would. And we are aiming to get ourselves in a situation tomorrow where we have time to decorate those sponges. Theory tomorrow is pretty important, actually, because I'll be going over the practical assessment, workflow, and how to get organised for that. So now that I've greased the forms, I'm now going to use flaked almonds, right? They're going to be our decoration on the side. So place them on. Not too many, just enough that I've got just a few almonds stuck to the sides and the bottom, of course. And that just makes the sides just a little bit interesting to look at when we slice it up. Touch down, even if they hit the bottom. So the tasks that I'm doing now, this would be on the assessment. These are things that you do before you start weighing any ingredients, right? You prepare all your forms, you get your sponge tins ready, You know, you're preparing all the equipment that you might need for that production. Then, of course, we've got the fillings that we need to make that we made last week, and they will be done as teams like we did in the lesson. But again, I'll go over that in the theory tomorrow, just to make sure everybody's, you know, as comfortable. When I say comfortable, not stressing out, not getting hijacked by stress. It's not meant to be you know, I want everybody to be a little bit on their toes, but I don't want it to be hijacked by being too nervous. So that's what it looks like. So I've got almonds on the sides, so that when I pour my batter in, it will form part of the look of that tin. So we'll do 2 of those. While I've got the opportunity, I'm also going to show you a cake ring, right? So like we've been using cake tins, same sort of situation. Foil, square, piece of baking paper or silicon paper, and then it's folded in, and then folded in, and then hard against the tin. Right, so it's hard pressed against the tin, and then I pick it up, fold it, and then bring that part in. I'm putting just a little bit of pressure on that foil, just so it holds it in place. Over. And again, this is a fairly standard technique for hotels, catering, you know, where they use the rings for a lot of other things other than just baking, right? So once I got the end, fold it over, like a bit of a tip, and then I bring that in and push it hard against the ring. So then I've got pretty much a cake tin. It gets greased the same, and then we'll dispense your sponge. That. The recipe that we're using actually for the Madera is actually originated as a gugolot recipe for a bundt cake. So you can see that it's got a chimney, it's got the flutes on the side. So I will be demonstrating this, and we will decorate it. As best I can, I'm going to expose you to as many different types of cultural and historical cakes as I can. So with this, you've got to really make sure you get that sponge grease down into those ribbed areas and into the cracks. These are old tins, right? They've had much use. These are probably 20 years old. Really make sure I'm fairly heavy and that I've got every single bit of the tin greased. That spray grease just doesn't, the one out of the can, it's not suitable for this type of baking that we're doing. I'm going to do the same and put almonds. And this will form part of the decoration of this cake. So it'll get glazed in apricot jam with candied oranges, like our Madera. And you can see there that the cake will have that finished look. Similar. We've got some pans that will take the overflow. These will also get painted and covered in ganache. Ganache is a emulsified chocolate product that we use to glaze cakes. Again, same thing. Almonds. And then that one's ready as well. So the rest I will cover tomorrow. So yeah, we've got a big day tomorrow. If you can, arrive at 7, you know, to help set up. If you want to get your own tools ready, start weighing up recipes. Again, the first task is an individual task. We're going to be mixing that individually. because it needs to be replicated individually in the assessment. All the other tasks that we're doing that are not being assessed, we're going to collectively, as a team, get in there and get it done so that we've got a broader range of products that we can showcase, learn, and make. I will see you guys tomorrow. I'm sure you'll have lots of questions. Good luck.